Yes, this is official. What you are looking at is the designs of Red, Chuck, Bomb, and Terence in the comic book series Super Angry Birds. In this video, I will be discussing the history of the comic series and going over all 4 comic stories so you can see how off the walls and crazy this comic is. Also, I could be wrong, but I think this is the first video on YouTube that's not the official trailer for the comics about them, so if that is true, that's quite cool. Angry Birds Hatching Universe is a book about the history of the Angry Birds franchise released on June 4th, 2013. The book itself has absolutely zero mention of Super Angry Birds in it, but it came with many goodies, one of them being this. It is a promotional comic from what seems to be the nostalgia year, 2012, though it does also say 2013 on it, so it could be from either of the two. In it, we see the space flock, but they are made to look like buff birdmen. Laser Chuck's design is kinda cool, as his normal design obviously has the red visor, and they incorporate that here with glasses. Not sure why he has the trench coat though. I think a red cape would have suited him better. Lightning Blues are also missing the yellow things, and they feel like an afterthought in this comic. They are the only ones not to do anything. Well, they do say this line, but it looks like that could easily come out from Firebomb. Plus, they do not appear in the main Super Angry Birds comics as superheroes, but rather as paper boys. Icebird also does not appear in the main comics at all, but that makes sense because he's not a part of Red's main flock. Speaking of which, his and Terrence's design here look great. Red's looks good too, but his design has no differences to his regular Super Angry Birds look. They at least could have given him the space red goggles here. Bomb has my favourite design though. They captured his space design so perfectly. It's so good. He also went and changed for the main comics too. Anyway, back to its plot. So the birds are walking down the street thinking of any crimes they can stop, until they see bad piggies are being served eggs in a diner. So they jump in and stop it, and eat pancakes. For what it is, it's pretty funny, just a small little joke promotional comic of what if the Angry Birds space flock were proper superheroes. I guess Ravi will love this idea too, as 3 years later, in April 2015, it was announced that 4 comics in this series titled Super Angry Birds would be released. A digital copy of issue 1 was given away for free for a limited time for those who signed up on Comixology in April 2015. Don't bother trying it now though, because it doesn't work anymore. I don't know how successful these comics ended up being, but there was never any more past the original 4, so I don't know if they sold that well. They were all combined together as one graphic novel in 2016 though. The comics were published by IDW, who had already published the Angry Birds and Angry Birds Transformers comics, so they were no strangers to the franchise at this point. They would never be mentioned again until 2022, when Rovio confirmed the Angryverse, a multiverse full of different universes in the Angry Birds franchise. Super Angry Birds was confirmed to be one of these, and then on March 28, 2023, Red tweeted the Super Angry Birds Space promo comic. Though it was cropped weirdly, every panel apart from the first has lots of parts cropped out, and the second panel of Super Red and Firebomb spotting the egg-eating poster has been cut out of the Twitter Red version completely. Also, Firebomb saying 3 and is not a part of the Twitter version either. The part where the cropping is most noticeable is the final panel, where most of the characters are out of frame. Fun fact, the writer of the original Space comic is Paul Tobin. He would go on to write issues 2 and 4 of the main Super Angry Birds comics, with issues 1 and 3 being written by Jeff Parker. Ron Randall also illustrated both the Space and regular comics as well. The colors of the Space comic were done by a man called Ben Bates, whose name looks a lot similar to Ben Matez's name, the current brand strategist at Rovio. The colors on the main comics were done by Jeremy Colwell. Now, without further ado, let's talk about issue 1. This issue is just an opening. It establishes all the characters and who they are really well. Personalities are literally just their toons ones, which I really like. Red is the noble leader of the Super Angry Birds. His superhero name is Red Rammer. When he came to New York City, he did not like what he saw. He felt like the pigs were doing a shit job at running things. So, he assembled his team, and they swore to do right by the citizens. There is also Chuck. His superhero name is Chaser. His ability is that he's obviously really fast, what were you expecting? Bomb appears too. He can explode and he enjoys eating sandwiches. He doesn't have a superhero name, unlike all the other characters. Lastly is Terence. His superhero name is Thunderbird. Just like in every Angry Birds continuity, he stays silent and only communicates with grunts. That's it for the 4 protagonists, but there are still some more characters to talk about. Matilda is here. She owns a greenhouse, similar to her garden in Toons. Her greenhouse is where the flock operate and plan out their plans. She also used her knowledge of food and chemistry to make the Super Angry Birds supplies they can use in their battles. Mighty Eagle is the owner of the Eagle's Eye newspaper. He and Matilda had a history together. They were once close friends and were very rich, but they were hit with hard times. He lost everything but his newspaper, and she lost everything but her greenhouse, and they eventually drifted apart. The Blues also appear, not as superheroes but as recurring characters. They are paper boys who are good friends with the Super Angry Birds. Stella is a very minor character, in issue 1 at least. She can be seen in a flashback in this comic, but we do learn more about her in issue 4, so we'll get to that when we get to that. KingPig and his manic minions, as well as Corporal, Foreman, Chef, and Professor are all here as well, and they are part of a violent criminal gang who rose up when Mayor Hogg became the mayor of the city. They are basically free to do whatever they want, with the pig police not giving a crap. I love that KingPig's name is usually spelt with a space between the king and the pig. Not for this comic though, this is supposed to be like the word kingpin, as he is the kingpin of the pig mob. I think that's really clever. There are also some background human and birds too, but we don't really care about those. The plot of this one is quite simple. After the birds' favourite food truck gets destroyed by the pigs, they battle them and eventually win, and rebuild the food truck. The pigs get angry at their defeat, so ask Mighty Eagle, who apparently knows everything, for help. He gets one of his reporters on the scene to snoop around and find out information. He finds out everything about the birds, including their hideout is in Matilda's greenhouse. The Eagle's Eye is about to publish the story when Matilda gets into contact with her old friend. She convinces him to change the story. Instead of saying they live in the greenhouse, the published version says the pigs should stay away from the greenhouse if they are allergic to truffle herbs and seeds, which are planted around it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. I really liked how it established all the characters, and it was a really interesting read. Now on to issue 2. Issue 2 has the pigs driving a truck full of coins, which are this world's currency. They are called eggs. They crash into an innocent bird's car. When he says about asking for insurance and stuff, the pigs say don't worry about it, and clean up the mess and pick up their eggs. When the Super Angry Birds get onto the scene, they see one of the eggs was not cleaned up. Red Rammer analyzes it and finds out it's a fake egg. The birds then do some investigating. Red Rammer sneaks into Chef Pig's restaurant with Matilda to get some files. Bomb and Thunderbird interrogate some pigs, and Chaser sneaks into a bank to get some files. They all come together and say what they have found. They all find out that the pigs are plotting to replace all the eggs in the city with fake eggs, so KingPig can have all the real riches and become the richest pig in the town. The birds do not like the sound of this, so the Super Angry Birds ambush the pigs. Then another pig comes to help on the scene, and they all defeat the birds. Then the new pig and the other 2 pigs continue their journey to the fake egg vault, where they are being made. Then the other pig takes off a disguise and reveals he is Chaser. The rest of the Super Angry Birds get there and put a stop to the counterfeit eggs plan. The comic ends ominously with Red Rammer staring out of a window of the greenhouse into the night sky of the city, telling Chaser he cannot sleep, but is very happy that the city can. KingPig is also doing the same thing in his building, but waging war on the birds, indicating the next issue they will be facing their biggest challenge yet. This one was okay. I much preferred the first, but for what it was, the second one was just fine. Now onto the third one. Issue 3 was way better than issue 2, but I don't think it was better than 1. It opens up with a rabbit man opening a new bakery. The pigs raid and eat all the food without paying, and Rabbit Man tells them to leave. They get mad and blow up his store, and he manages to escape. The Super Angry Birds are not happy about this. They take action and once again defeat the pigs. So KingPig makes Professor Pig make a giant robot that is built to match all 4 Super Angry Birds' powers, which was kinda hinted at the end of issue 2, which I kinda like. The pigs go out and commit their usual crimes, and the birds go to stop them, and this is where they are greeted with the robot for the first time. The robot absolutely destroys all 4 birds. The birds read the news and it says they are all washed up. They get angry at this and they're determined to defeat the robot, only to get thrashed once again. Battle damaged, they drink tea with Matilda and the Blues in the greenhouse, and discuss what they can do to defeat the robot. Red Rammer realizes they are holding back and asks Jim, one of the Blues, to give a report to the pigs to meet them in a certain location. The Super Angry Birds and pigs meet outside the Piggy police station. The birds lead the robot into KingPig's mansion and end up destroying it. KingPig gets mad and demands Professor Pig to shut it off, so he does, and the birds end up destroying the robot. The Rabbit Man's bakery gets repaired and the birds have a nice meal there, and see that his new oven is the head of the pig robot. The bunny says it's more efficient than his old one. The Super Angry Birds discuss that Professor Pig seemed alright and it looked like he was held there against his will. Maybe not all pigs are bad after all. Now onto the 4th and final issue. It opens up with the Blues vandalizing a wall. They get caught by the police pigs and run away. They hear a beautiful singing voice and wonder who it belongs to. They find out it's Stella. Meanwhile, the Super Angry Birds are beating up the pigs because that's what they do. The Blues ask Stella why she doesn't perform in the nightclubs. She says it's because they're all owned by KingPig and his men, and she doesn't want to work for them. So the Blues ask the Super Angry Birds for a favor. They break into the nightclub and destroy it. KingPig is furious until he hears Stella's beautiful singing voice, and he loves it. It calms him down, and he excuses the pigs and says it's not their fault for letting the Super Angry Birds through. The next day, Stella performs on a stage in a park, and the Blues watch. but KingPig does too, secretly in a disguise so no one can see it's him. And that's the end. I guess that's a nice way to end the series, but eh. The first one was so promising. I like how they established all the characters and their personalities, as well as Matilda and Mighty Eagle's lore. Mighty Eagle isn't even mentioned in any other issues. It seemed like it'd be an important and recurring character, and would appear very often, but I guess not. Issue 2 was confusing to me when I read it. It just felt so complicated and made no sense. KingPig is already rich. I get he would want to make more money, but this is such a weird and complicated way to do so. Also in issue 1, we see Bomb watching Stella performing in a nightclub, but issue 4 clearly states she doesn't like doing that, so I do not know what they were talking about. Issue 3 was probably my second favorite issue. I love how the birds are finally matched with something they can't defeat right away, even going back to their base, defeated and bruised, before they find a clever solution on how to defeat it. I hate how issue 3 ends up like it's setting up the next issue in a cool way. They say they know Professor Pig was being held against his will, so I was assuming issue 4 would have them rescue him and have him join their side. But no, he's not even there, and it's just some bullcrap story about Stella singing in a nightclub and some shit that I don't care about. If I had to rank the comics from worst to best, 4, 2, 3, 1. Subscribe and like the video, good.